Hello and welcome back to another video. I am RegretfulTurtle, and in this video we're going to talk about something a little different. We're going to talk about why you should keep your layers organized. You know, if you're working in Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, GIMP, Inkscape, we should talk about why you should make layers and keep them organized. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so now that we're inside, my dad hat illustration, let us show you why it is important to keep our layers organized. Okay, so let's say you want to change the color of the strokes, all of them. All right, and so if you have it all nice and organized and named like I do right here, the only layer I have missing that's not named is this guy. And if we take a look and disable the view, it's all our shadows, so we could just call that shadows. Let's say I want to change the color of our strokes. Okay, so let's say I want to make the strokes like a instead of black, let's make them purple. So it's so easy. If I want to do that with all the strokes, you'd want to just click the first stroke and then go all the way to your bottom and hold shift and select all your strokes, and then you just have to go right here, and it's so easy. Watch, look at this, boom, purple, purple. Look at that. Look how easy it was to change the color of our strokes, all because our layers are organized and we have our stroke already, like, our stroke layer. We have a layer dedicated just to our strokes. We don't have to look for each individual stroke and just select them all. Now, you could do a little bit better than I did in here and create a layer within your layers, or a group within the layer for certain parts of the illustration. For example, like this bill, I could have grouped all these lines together on the bill and called them bill lines to identify that they are the lines on top of the bill. And then I could have made another group called like all these little individual strokes right here you see. I could have made another group and call them detail strokes. It's something like that, something simple like that to make your organization even better than what I have here at the moment. Be better than me. Alright? Be better than me. I'm getting there. But it's it's easy, because now let's say you wanted to change the color of your hat. Well, that's pretty simple. Let's say you want to change the color of, instead of being pink, let's make it into this cyan. Oh, look at that. I even have it separated by the top of the hat and the bill, which makes it even better, because now you can make a dual colored hat instead of just changing the whole color all at once. And so you see, you got your cyan. Now let's say you want to make the bill a different color. Let's say you make the bill a yellow. And look at that. So simple. Now it's easy to change the color because you have your layers organized, and it's not a headache to look for, your colors or your strokes or your highlights and shadows. It's so easy. It works well if you want to also work with another person. You send them the file, your file's all nice and organized, and they appreciate how nice and tidy you have your file, because now it's so easy for them to just come in here and go to your strokes and add their strokes. Maybe they make a whole new layer within the layer and call it, additional strokes, or, this person's name strokes, and they make the strokes, and then, it's easy. They want to change the color, they know where to go. And obviously none of this is named, but if you want to get more organized, you name each individual object. So right here you'd be like top of hat, and they would know that this would change. If you change that color, it would change the top of the hat color, instead of trying to figure it out for themselves, which would probably be even more organized than what I was saying before, groups within groups. It's naming each individual object within your layers. Sometimes you're just like, I just want to, sometimes you're in the flow of making illustrations or doing some in Photoshop, and you're like, I don't want to, worrying about naming my layers. And if you're not working with somebody else, then okay, that's fine. You could struggle yourself with yourself and be mad at yourself for not naming your objects correctly when you should have done it in the first place. But that's fine. But if you're working with somebody else, you might want to name the objects. That way it's easier for them to figure out what each object does, and what happens if they want to change that. Like, they know where to go to change it. And let's look at an example of how not to have our layers, because it makes things a lot harder to change. Like, we have this bow tie here, for example, and this is before I started organizing my layers. And I created this object, and look at this. My layers are not organized at all. You have like the stroke right here, you have it right here, you have in the middle of all these other, like here's our color right here, here's another stroke right here, and if you go farther down, the other ones are here. Like, this was the way I was making my illustrations at first, and it makes it a lot harder to make changes. Like, let's say I wanted to change the color of all the strokes. Well, now I have to like select all the ones individually on the actual like document, or if I want to do like say if it's underneath another object right here, like we got shadows right here, it's underneath some other layer. Now you have to go with actual like in the layer group and select it yourself, and it just makes it a lot harder to change the colors, add colors, add highlights, add shadows, and it's just a mess. Like, it's just a headache. Like, I realized that, like, at first I was like, I don't need to organize nothing. I'm not gonna organize nothing, because I was like, I don't need to do that. Why do I do that? I'm not gonna. I make my own illustrations. I know what each, how to find each individual shape or whatever, and then like I don't use an illustration for a while, and then I go back to it and I'm like, oh, I want to reuse this element for whatever reason, and then I want to change the color, and I'm like, man, I should have organized it so much when I had the chance, when I was making it, because it's just so much harder to change the color of something, and it's just a hassle. That's why you should keep your layers organized, and I'm pretty sure there are many other reasons to do it as well, but this is like a big main reason that I've noticed in my own experience as to why it is very important to keep your layers organized. And even if you don't name everything, just having that separation between strokes, color, and the detail layers makes a huge difference. All right, so that's all I have to say about this subject, this topic. So if you like the video, go ahead and leave a like, leave a subscribe, drop a comment, all that good YouTuber stuff. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty nice. Yeah, and if you do all that, I'll give you a picture of this monkey. Alright, well, have fun. See you later. Peace.